Meeting. Would you please join me for a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance? And now the pledge. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So our traffic report for May. Who's going to take this? Just highlights.
Yeah. Sure. Number of traffic studies that the police department had done in the month of April, March, April. We discussed all those: Greystone, Indian Springs, Booking Up Junction, Landisville, South Colebrook and Church Street. Most of those locations decided that they were going to be placed on a list of continuing education and enforcement based on the speed study data that was obtained. There was discussion on old business of Spring Valley, Shank Mill Bridge, as well as in the public comments, Wheatland Avenue was discussed as far as a speeding and traffic concern there.
All right. Were there any questions from the board? No. Right. On to the minutes from April 20th meeting. Any comments, additions, or corrections to the minutes?
None here.
I have none.
Okay, so hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes from the April 20th meeting, 2022?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. LaFever, second by Mr. Weaver.
Second. Yep.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Thank you. Okay, traffic studies. It looks like we are up first with Centerville Road.
Sure. In the month of May, we did traffic studies on the 800 block and the 1000 block of Centerville Road between May 2nd and May 9th. Within those studies, the 800 block of Centerville is a posted 25-mile-an-hour zone northbound and 35-mile-an-hour zone southbound. We obtained data which was an average speed northbound 33.7 miles an hour with the 85th percentile being 37. Southbound average speed is 35 with the 85th percentile being 39.8 miles an hour. Would you like me to continue on?
Yes,
Okay.
and just so we're clear, is that the portion of Centerville that's in the neighborhood of the school district?
Yes, Centerville and Knights Lane.
Okay.
Yes, sir. We also had another study on the 1000 block of Centerville, which is up by Chapel Forge. This is a 35-mile-an-hour zone. Average speed there was 37 miles an hour with the 85th percentile being 42 miles an hour.
Okay. And from the studies, were there any recommendations or any suggestions?
In regards to just the speed,
Enforcement, speed.
we'll keep them on our radar of continuous education and enforcement locations with speed signs and enforcement details. We often are in the area of Knights Lane, running speed there on a pretty regular basis.
Okay.
With the setback of the middle school and even more so for the elementary school, is that 25-mile-an-hour mandated by the state? Do we know?
Not necessarily for the school being there itself, no.
So that possibly could be increased to 35.
We would have to do a traffic study to determine if it meets all the qualifications for that, yes.
my observation is, and I guess the facts bear it out here, that few drive 25 in there. And I guess many would say with today's technology, cars are very safe at 35 if drivers are attentive and not distracted. It'd be good if we could have speed limits that people would obey rather than speed limits that they say don't think are appropriate and don't obey them. So I was just curious if that really could become something that people would be more comfortable and possibly be more in adherence with the law.
Is it possible to pull up a map? Ms. Garber of Centerville Road in that area that it's 25 miles an hour, just so we can.
Actually, the 25 goes beyond Knights, the street that goes back with the name Knights on it. It actually goes past the schools, significant distance, a couple, not possibly even 500 yards or so before it changes to 35. And the other direction also, I believe that 25 goes to Marietta Avenue.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So my thoughts are, again, is that if we could make it something that people would possibly adhere to. Have we had citations along that stretch?
On the 25 zone? Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
You have to keep in mind that to get a citation, they have to be going at least.
Right. 36 or so. I'm sure we're citing ones that are going more than that, and even, well, if we check 35, people may drive 45, and that's the other side of the coin.
And both schools, I don't believe have walkers. They're all bused. So there are no walkers.
It's my understanding the school district is trying to get away from walkers everywhere.
It doesn't mean children do walk, I believe, but
Some
they're not.
often
encouraged.
after hours over to the Turkey Hill or something to that effect, but
Right.
from after school activities.
Is that a school zone around the middle school and the elementary school, or
It is not a school
I think it's
zone.
fenced off and all, so the kids can't really get out on the street, so I
So-
didn't think it was. So that would be the only reason I could see for the 25.
Well, there is, so it's from Knights Lane to Centerville, from Knights Lane to Marietta Avenue
Pretty
is
much.
25. So there is that sharp curve in the poor intersection there with Nisley as well. I don't know that I would necessarily want to raise that speed limit because of that curve and that intersection. I do think enforcement and education is the way to continue with it. You know, I don't know, other than that, I don't think there's any other drastic things that we should do, but I don't know that I want to increase right there at that, just for that little reason there. I mean, your thoughts, Mr. LaFever?
My thoughts are just running to the fact that our problem really isn't people that drive 35. It's people that are driving 55 or 60 through there. That's the problem we need to address somehow. And I don't want to justify them driving at that speed for any reason. Okay, well, we've discussed it. Thank you.
I think I hear Mr. Madonna. Did you have any comments on that?
I did not. I apologize. I coughed.
I'm impressed here by the increase in truck traffic. That's a pretty big jump from 700 to 800 block from 51 to 251. I'm wondering why it's just there, but not where the other two studies were done.
Yes.
I inquired about that to Sergeant Lombardo, who did the survey. He didn't have a definitive answer as to that jump.
Because you think once they're on the Centerville Road, they would
Right.
pretty much not, there's really nowhere to go.
Maybe Noel.
Maybe not. But this is,
Well, Unless they,
700 to 800 block, which
unless they make their delivery and then come back the other way.
just right at Spring Valley Road. What's that?
Yeah.
Unless they make their delivery and then come back the other way.
So
On
going to
Center.
the school and then turning around and going back.
Hmm.
Kind of double. I mean, it still doesn't account for
All of
the
it,
increase,
but-
but
It could be the counter was out of whack and it just counted them as
Right.
tractor trailers and they really weren't, but
Do we know what time period we did the 2021 study? Like what month that was school in session?
I don't offhand. I can get that for you, but I don't have that
Okay.
information at my fingertips.
we're not really encouraging truck traffic on that section, are we? I mean, really not supposed to be a through route from 283 to 30.
So we do, I think Mrs. Switzer can maybe just sort of give us a little background on the truck traffic there and what that issue is and what we're in the middle of doing.
so Chief Skiles had started something with Sergeant Lombardo and then Lieutenant Brubaker, looking at traffic route or truck routes through the township, east to west, north, south. We've got to get truck traffic through the township. Then he went and looked, and we looked at the historical information we had on the studies that substantiated creating the signage that was there. And the studies that were found really didn't substantiate having truck routes anywhere in the township. So now we're looking at globally, starting from scratch and saying, okay, we need to get trucks from point A to point B. How do we do that? And that's what the Public Works meeting was about the last time we met. We're meeting again. We're moving forward on this as a global look at getting truck traffic through the township. One of those routes is, of course, Centerville Road. Centerville Road is marked for no trucks. The problem is the markings are not totally legal in terms of issuing a citation, and it doesn't have the study to back it up. So to create truck routes, you actually need a traffic engineer to do the studies. They can't be done with our counters. And that takes some dollars and some coordination and some understanding of where do you want this traffic to go?
So bottom line, we're in the beginning stages of looking at where that traffic is going to go, what is the best place for it to go, and how to get it there at this point.
Yes.
And then once we make that decision, whatever roads we don't want it on, my guess is we're going to take steps to properly post and enforce those roads. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I was actually at that meeting and it kind of slipped my mind, so thanks for the refresher. I knew we were talking about it.
Yes.
Do we have any questions from the audience on Centerville Road? Just for the Centerville Road? Okay, yep. If you could come up to the microphone. And did you sign in, sir?
I did.
Thank you.
My name's Larry Shields. I live at 3004 Gloucester Street.
Okay.
On the map up there. I wanted to take just a couple of minutes since we're talking about Centerville Road and specifically the area between Marietta and Harrisburg Pike, specifically the commercial, the heavy commercial truck traffic, tractor trailers in particular. They are rolling through there all day, every day, some number of them, despite the signs that tell them they're not supposed to be doing that. And they're big, you know, the big ones. The box trucks that are just under tractor trailer size, and then the full size tractor trailers, you know, 70, 75-foot monsters just roll through. And they're not making the local deliveries. And I will tell you, because where I live, I can see the deliveries going to the school and the Turkey Hill and the Domino's. Those guys in and out, nice and easy, the way they're supposed to go. Usually come in off of Marietta and then go out that way. The other guys, they're rolling in from 283. Some of them are those seagoing, you know, the containers that get dropped onto a tractor trailer, and they'll cut through Raleigh Ridge and Indian Springs sometimes, come back the other way. So there is a lot of truck traffic, and I believe that study. I see it every day since I'm now semi-retired, and where I sit in my office, I see them rolling by, you can hear them. Now I can tell the difference by the sound. And, I mean, it's just, and to the signage, it's weak. I mean, it's hard to see. Sometimes I had to drive around to look for them. These guys are just gonna roll through, and we gotta get it under control. I know some of it's enforcement, commitment to enforce, and I just understand the study we're doing now, that's probably good. Obviously, and I've talked to a couple of the drivers, one who was running for public office, and I've forgotten his name. But anyway, he's retired and was running for public office, and they use, of course, the Waze app. And they know where the officers are sitting, whether they're in the school parking lot or on Knights Lane, they know when they're there and they know when they're not. So we have to find some way to manage it. And it's unsafe.
Okay.
And I know it's on the chief's radar already. I saw your interview with the paper, so I was pleased to see that. And I think signage is the place to start. I mean, big ones down by the hospital, and then maybe across from the Giant in the, what's that, northbound direction, and then one at the hospital in the southbound direction.
So did you follow our conversation earlier right now regarding signage? So before we can put up signs that are enforceable, we have to be able to back that up with a traffic study that's not done in-house. It's got to be done by a traffic engineer.
No, I got it. Yep.
Okay.
The other thing is, which is really scary, it's only happened to me once, is that stretch from Getz's Woods down to the new intersection in Harrisburg Pike. Telling you, when one of those guys rolls up on you from behind and he's going too fast, they use those jake brake things to slow down, to try to slow down. It's scary. It's not safe. And we hear about all these terrible truck accidents for 3 months, and those are on roads that allow traffic. Centerville's got to be primed for one of those disasters. I mean, I don't know how it can't be. Anyway, I just wanted to share that.
Well, we appreciate your feedback, and you've signed in, so you'll become part of the conversation as we move forward. So I think we have an outline. If I understand it correctly, step one is we're going to get the details together, do a study through Public Works, correct? Identify which roads, north and south traffic, east and west traffic are going to carry the trucks that we have, and then take the appropriate action to limit it on the other roads.
The guys that are supposed to be there, I gotta say, they behave, because I'm watching them, and they do what they're supposed to do when they get out.
Okay.
Then I would comment on, maybe later if there's time, on the previous discussion on speed around school. Because I live there, my kids went to school there. I have a comment. Is that?
Sure, no, go ahead, no.
So I would not encourage raising that speed limit. Kids do walk across there. They're swarming across there. The school does not encourage it. It's been a while, but back in the day, we had to sign a piece of paper allowing our kids to cross. They go down to the Turkey Hills, the chief said. They are swarming over there. Not every day, not all the time, but certain times of the day, there are a ton of kids. And they're walking up Centerville. I don't know where they go, maybe into the neighborhoods further up. There's no place really for them to walk. They are crossing. There's a lot of kids. So raising that speed limit at this time, I don't think it's a good idea.
I appreciate your feedback, and I think we agree with you on that, so.
Can we go back to the truck study a bit?
Sure.
My thoughts are running to the question of, is it correct? Is it productive to just do the truck study on Centerville as opposed to getting the study that was started before back into the agendas and develop a truck plan for the whole township, which would include, of course, Centerville?
That's my understanding that that's the route we're taking. and
Okay.
overall.
Okay,
That's correct.
fine, thank you.
Okay, looking through some of these other studies, Hunter's Path, it looks like there doesn't seem to be a problem that's outlined there, if I'm reading this correctly. MSC Drive, again, it doesn't look like that's
I think, excuse me, to note on that one, the speed limit, we had done a speed study. Originally, when Embassy opened up, it was 25, and after the study, it was decided that in reality, a 35 zone is what is warranted there, and the data that we obtained after the speed study with the speed increase supports that recommended change.
Thank you for the context there, Chief. Great. Shank Road. Again, it looks like the data is showing that the 85th percentile is within that acceptable margin. Shank Road, similar. Lidditz Road and 72. So as we look at this one, I'm actually a little surprised. So the average speed, where the speed limit's 55 miles an hour, is 46 miles per hour.
Sure, and there's, through the intersection there, it's an advisory 45-mile-an-hour zone
Okay,
for the intersection itself, but 72 before and after the intersection of Lidditz is 55.
Okay.
So.
any comments from the board on those?
If I could back up to Embassy Drive and possibly get a motion from the Traffic Commission to have staff move forward and do what is necessary to increase that to 35 miles per hour. I'm not sure what is required there. We've never increased one.
It is posted.
Oh, it is posted?
That's already been done.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm
perfect,
sorry.
okay.
That's been done.
Never mind.
Okay, under old business. Do we have any updates? It looks like Spring Valley Road line painting.
That hasn't been done.
It has been, okay.
Yes.
And Shank Mill Bridge. Signage. Anything?
We did take pictures of the existing signs that were there. So not sure if we have them available or not.
So you asked at the last traffic commission for staff with Public Works and Planning to go out, look at the signage that was there, compare it to the package that the county put out, and provide you with a map of what it looked like currently. And so our planner, Nate Sturgis, and I went out. We have the pictures of the signage and created, as soon as I get it shared here, doing too many things at once, created this map for you to show you what the current signage is that's in place for this situation. So there is signage both on both directions at the entrance to Shank Road on both ends. And those signs indicate the height and the weight restrictions of the bridge moving forward. And those are in place and visible and correct in both directions. Entering Shank Road from Spookynook. And then when you get down close to the covered bridge, then again, we have looking at it from the south side coming up. So the covered bridge is here on the left. You have the stop sign ahead with the beacon on it, the curve sign. And then also as we get in closer to the bridge, the additional signage for the bridge and the overhead beam. The no truck signage, the height signage, the weight signage, the one lane bridge sign, and the same approaching from the opposite direction, coming around the curve, the stop sign ahead, and then those additional signage there. And then on the Raffo Township side, their signage is in place as well, showing those height restrictions approaching the bridge and the weight restrictions as well. the difference in what is currently in place versus what the county study suggested. Get it to a size you can see. What the county suggested was limiting the trucks with trailers attached. And you had comments from Sergeant Lombardo at the last meeting indicating that he did not believe that that was going to make any significant impact. They're not obeying the signs that are there now. These signs would be significantly increased. So you can see here in the center, if I blow it up a little bit more. So instead of one yellow sign and one white sign, you would have the yellow diamond sign, the white weight sign, and then these two additional signs. And you would be adding to what we already have. Additionally, it would be adding signs out at the other intersections as well. So it would be the addition of what in reality is 4 separate panels of signs, is my understanding, Perry, on each of these sections, in addition to what's already in place.
I'm sure that's what the county is advising, but yes, it would just be adding more signs. I don't, they're not obeying the ones that are there now, so I don't know what the answer is.
Okay. So the signs we have there now are enforceable?
Yes, Tony
For the
indicated
bridge.
in his comments they're enforceable and adequate, and Perry noted that they are the appropriate signs, the correct signs.
They are PennDOT authorized signs, so.
Headache bars there that weren't, I don't think were there before. When did they go up and they looked like they would help?
Remember when the steel beams went up?
Oh, I'd say about 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was
That long.
pre-COVID,
Pre-COVID, so.
after we had had multiple trucks get stuck both directions.
People still go through there and hit the bridge then?
Yeah,
Yes.
the
Wow.
abutments they've hit before the
They
steel.
need to be a little lower then. They look
Well,
pretty
it's not-
substantial.
It's not so much the height as it is the turning radius.
Yeah, wow, right.
And so again, it's,
I think that bridge did hit like the rafters a couple times too, but not with those things there, I guess.
What'd you call them, headache?
Headache bars, yep. That's, I don't know if that's the right name for them, but that's about what they do.
so as far as staff's review, there isn't anything that's not there that should be there currently.
Okay.
And unless you want to make some of the one-way direction or closure suggestions that the county study implied were options, we're pretty well signed out, as it were, where we are right now.
So I think I'm good with the signs that are there. I don't,
Yeah, I mean, it's,
Mr. LaFever.
you know, to be the ones that are there, adding more is probably not going to make much difference, which seems to be the consensus.
Yeah, the only thing we might do is put blinking lights on them, but again, I'm not so sure if they have an intent to cross. I think they'll try and cross.
And would it help to explain that there's a covered bridge there? Like, there's nothing that tells a truck driver that there's the reason for why they're not supposed to be on that road. Maybe if they,
Other than the height restriction, I guess.
yeah, and the weight and the tight radius.
A lot of the problems are with they're not so much the tall car carriers, it's the pickup truck style dual wheel trucks that are pulling the very long, low trailers that have maybe 4 or 5 cars in them. And at first they were having trouble making the radius coming out of there. I believe the stop signs have helped that a little bit. That gives them a little more room to swing around there if the person is stopped. But I think they're probably the ones that are giving the most problems.
Okay.
And in talking to Sergeant Lombardo, he indicated again, as with anywhere else, we can put the signs up. You might get a few people obeying them, but the ones that don't, they still can't do anything with it unless they're sitting there watching and seeing it occur and then doing the active enforcement. And it's not an area where we have impact to our community so much as the other places that they spend their time.
Does our equipment give us an idea of when there's like increased traffic? Like when, for example, a truck would be, is there a certain day of the week? I know I heard car carriers, is that on a specific
Like if we
day?
put the counters out and tracked,
Perry might have the answer to that. I don't know offhand. I haven't seen an hourly.
They count time of day. It'll tell you exactly when a car or a vehicle goes through there.
Will it give you what day, Barry?
Yes, it should give you days of the week, time of the day.
is it going to accurately count those dually pickup trucks that have the trailers behind them as that type of vehicle?
I think it goes by length. It strictly goes by the length of the vehicle. I don't actually know that, and maybe Chief Brubaker can answer this question. I don't know that there's that many accidents there. I don't know if it's more of a complaint that people don't like it or that there are actual accidents there.
The beams significantly reduced our accidents when they were installed a few years ago, as well as the change of the stop sign. I can think of in the past, maybe 6 months, one car carrier accident. But the numbers are down, but it also seems to go in waves. We'll have a period where the bridge feels like it's getting hit once a month for a couple of months, and then we may go a year without it being struck, so.
We had also had our traffic engineer do Barry, can you help me out with the name of that study? They actually visually looked.
I just call it a video study.
Yeah, they actually
forget the
looked at
name.
what was going across the bridge. I can pull that up and give you a copy of it, but that was done. He may have done some analysis as well. It was a year or so ago. But we did study what that was. We did the same thing used the same thing on Bowman and Church when we did that study, that it actually videotapes what's going on out there.
One of the other complaints that we were having before was the resident that lives right there was complaining about the trucks making a wide swing in his yard to actually make it into the bridge. And we had put some large rock in the shoulder, and the actual placement of the stop sign does not allow vehicles to do that anymore. So I think that has significantly reduced his problem.
Okay. So it sounds like other than signage, there's no other issue here for us to decide, right? So the question is, are we going to put up additional signs or not?
Doesn't seem like anybody thinks it's gonna help that much. So I would say no.
Mr. LaFever?
Looking back on a year or so of discussing this with different options, I think we've achieved a sort of solution for the moment that we can watch this, continue to watch it, because anything else we would do would have to be pretty drastic.
Okay. Wheatland Avenue,
Sure, that was brought up at the last meeting. Ms. Torres is here again this week. Immediately after the meeting, we deployed one of our message board signs with a children at play. I think we had it westbound versus eastbound, if I'm not mistaken. It was then pulled, recharged, deployed to another location. It's slated to go back out eastbound with another message this Friday. And then after that, we're going to put our speed signs out indicating the speed versus having a message or some of the measures we're taking at this point, as well as we've had officers go down and monitor. And I think, Perry, you were going to check the visibility of the stop signs, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, looking at the locations of the intersections, there's no justification there just to place a stop sign to control, the speed. That is one thing you can't do, but we did look to make sure the sight distance was there, and just about, all the intersections, there is visibility. So there was no justifications for that reasoning to place stop signs there. So at this point, again, it is what it is. I don't know what speeds were collected there yet, but we've done several speed checks there, I know, in the past.
Pam, did you want to speak? Did you have any questions?
I'm sorry, you'll have to use the microphone.
Justification for adding stop signs, would it be possible to potentially do removable speed bumps that could be removed in the winter so that there's not a problem with plowing?
So speed bumps has really become a contentious issue. And I think you got some of it at the last meeting. The meeting before was really, would have been a good example for you to hear. Like once we put them up, there's a lot of resistance to them. And I think step one is let's see what the speeds come back at and before we do anything. And then maybe have that conversation. So we'll see, take a look at things and see and make informed decisions based on the data and see. With the first sign going up, did you notice anything with the temporary?
For the first few days.
Okay.
For the first few days, it was actually really helpful. So we appreciate it and thank you. But I think some people just essentially got used to it and just
Okay.
then all over it, which is probably what happens on the regular.
Right.
You brought to my attention maybe citing some of the cars that I feel like maybe are the regular
Writing down their
speeders.
registrations.
Should I be writing down license plate
Yep.
numbers and models and cars?
If you want to write down registrations and then email them to me, to the department, be more than happy to. Did you guys do anything with the Nextdoor app that we discussed?
We did. So we have a neighborhood council. So I reached out to our president and we always have quarterly flyers that he walks to everyone's front door. So they put a little paragraph about how the weather's getting warmer and we appreciate speeding. But essentially, he said it's kind of like banging our heads against the wall because this has been a problem as long as he's been a member of the council, just because of the people in the neighborhood that
Mhm.
don't listen to signs.
Okay.
But it's just really hard because my husband and I recently had a guy come to quote us for a fence around our entire yard and it was going to be over $9,000. So I mean, just like that's a large ticket price, but if that's what we have to do to keep our kids safe, do it. But we were just hoping for, something that we wouldn't need to like essentially enclose our entire house. But just with the narrow road and how fast cars go, just doesn't seem like there's any other way that we could keep our boys safe.
I believe our previous offer would still apply, that if you can provide us with a tag number from a vehicle,
Okay,
I think we could send a letter of request or information.
okay.
We can't prosecute off that, but
Sure.
we
And if I
can-
had my own radar gun, could I do anything? I mean, I would be happy to.
I considered doing that where I live.
Yeah. I mean, is that an option that I could like actually?
No.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
right.
Give them a ticket, of course, but it would just be a courtesy letter from the police.
Usually we call, if we obtain a reg, we call, let them know that their driving was brought to our attention, appeared to be erratic, excessive for the neighborhood.
So we have been trying to take a more methodical approach is because as you can see, we get a lot of these complaints. Yours is not the only one. So I think what we really settled down to, instead of like just trying to jump and cast a wide net everywhere, we're really trying to take a hard look at where there really is a problem. Does the data support it? And then make those decisions moving forward. So I think it will be helpful once we get that back. I do think the efforts that Chief Brubaker is putting in place will make some difference for you. So we'll continue the dialogue on it.
Studies.
There's 2 or 3 in the queue ahead of yours, so I would say it's, but you're getting closer and closer, so.
And I was just going to add, it could be that, we knew that Spring Valley Road was not a good place for speed bumps, but Wheatland Avenue is a whole different neighborhood and level of street, so it might work there. So I wouldn't be opposed to even just trying it. With temporary bumps, it can be taken out if it's a problem. But again, we were waiting for the data, so.
Yeah, and if we're just gonna like try one out, we could do it right in front of my house because I wouldn't care about the sound either. And behind us, the property has about like half an acre, so they wouldn't really be affected by the sound either. I mean, I could purchase one and try one out and then report back to you next month if that's possible.
Just give us
as
a little more
well.
time. We'll be patient with us.
No.
Up next, we have Good Drive and Knoll Drive. Looks like McMahon.
Yes. So number of, actually in your March meeting, I believe, you authorized the traffic engineer to move forward on adjusting the timing at Good and Knoll. That's been, the study's been done. The paperwork's been sent to PennDOT. It went in at the end of March. They've had it since then. Mr. Bauer has checked with them now twice, waiting for them to respond. It's been about 6 weeks. So should take 30 days, but we're kind of at their mercy. As soon as it is approved, we'll just have CMI come out and change the controller box to reflect the new timing. He said everything is sitting in the box to get it done. So
Okay.
matter of time, which is almost at its end.
Lidditz Road and the Route 72 intersection.
So as the process goes, what has been decided upon is that there's immediate solutions, there's intermediate solutions, and there's the long term. The township has taken upon itself, as well as some PennDOT work, to get the immediate things done, which is the stop bars, the flashing lights on Lidditz Road stop signs, where you have the message board out there on a Tuesday. And we did some traffic studies, and now we're going to be putting out our little radar signs to make people aware what the speed is on 72. That's as much as we can do on the immediate basis. In the interim basis, our engineer has gotten back and has preparing recommendations for the board to do intermediate types of solutions, which could be a traffic signal, some work at Lidditz Road, but everything has an impact. So we have to thoroughly understand what the impacts are going to be with whatever is recommended. The Public Works Department is meeting with Mr. Bauer. The Public Works Group is meeting with Mr. Bauer next week. So we should have a better understanding what the interim solution is and what the cost is. And then the final is the long-term solution, which is a PennDOT solution. PennDOT is looking at that. They've have RFQs out for a study to be done, another study to determine long-term what it should be. Should it be a permanent signal? Should it be a roundabout? They're not sure, but that could take at least 5 years.
Okay.
So we're moving through the process again methodically to make sure we get it right the first time.
Thank you for the update. Lytle traffic.
So Lytle traffic kind of fell off the radar for a bit of time. I need to get with our traffic engineer and see where we are actually at in terms of the turning into Lidl from Columbia and the problems that that's been causing. So that's a pending matter.
Thank you. Any new business from the board? Public comment related to this traffic commission meeting. Is there any other public comment related to traffic commission? Okay. All right. Well, with no new business and no public comment, I'm going to adjourn our, did you? Okay. We're going to adjourn our meeting at 6:46, and we will be back for the scheduled Board of Supervisors meeting at 7 o'clock. Thank you.